City Council meeting for September 12, 2022 is now in session. Ms. O'Connell, roll call, please.
Council President Pro Tem, Mr. Moiseo,
Present.
Mr. Emery,
Here.
Mr. Gah,
Here.
Mr. Kozeski, Mrs. Ledford.
Here.
Mr. Prokowski,
Present.
City Manager, Mr. Hockaday.
Here.
Finance Director, Mr. Williams.
Here.
And Law Director, Mr. Lewis.
Here. Could you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge of allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing. We have with us tonight the Reverend Bob Goldenshoe of the First Baptist Church, and he will do our invocation for us. Reverend?
Let's pray. Gracious God, we thank you for this evening that you've given us. We thank you that you have provided for us a community that is caring enough to look out for their own. Father, we pray right now that you would be with this council as they accomplish the work set before them this evening. We pray that you would be with our community here. So much is going on, not just here, but elsewhere, that we pray your protection over our community and your guidance as decisions get made. In your name we pray. Amen.
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 Thank you.
Thank you.
Reverend. Okay, since we do have a lack of a quorum this evening, we'll have to move the approval of the meeting minutes to the next meeting. So that'll bring us in. I don't believe there's any special presentations or any awards presentations, other than we do have a proclamation for National Rail Safety Week. Ms. O'Connell, can you read that, please?
Yes, from the Office of Conneaut City Council. Whereas 2,148 rail grade crossing collisions resulted in 658 personal injuries and were responsible for 238 fatalities in the United States during 2021. Whereas 1,151 trespassing incidents have occurred in the United States, resulting in 528 pedestrians being killed and another 623 injured while trespassing on railroad property rights of way during 2021. Whereas educating and informing the public about rail safety, reminding the public that railroad right-of-ways are private property, enhancing public awareness of the dangers associated with highway rail grade crossings, ensuring pedestrians and motorists are looking and listening while near railways, and obeying established traffic laws will reduce the number of fatalities and injuries. Whereas the International Association of Chiefs of Police, National Operation Lifesaver, United States Department of Transportation, and all local, state, county, and railroad law enforcement officers, first responders, and railroad corporations commit to partnering together in an effort to educate at a national level all aspects of railroad safety, to enforce applicable laws and support a National Rail Safety Week. Therefore, be it resolved, the Council of the City of Conneaut, Ohio, does hereby declare and proclaim September 19th to September 25th, 2022 as National Rail Safety Week in the City of Conneaut. We urge all citizens to join council in recognizing the importance of rail safety education.
Okay, thank you. I don't believe we have any citizen comments this evening, so we'll move on to communications. Does anybody have any communications they would like read into the record?
I do not.
No, that'd be liaison. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, okay. You have a liaison report, Mr. Goff?
Planning Commission passed for Dunkin' Donuts and Taco Bell.
Okay.
Out by Truck World.
All right, we'll get into that when we get to the reports of liaisons.
Oh, that's where you,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
No,
I
that's
thought
okay.
You were there.
No.
All right, sorry.
Okay, we'll move on to reports for our city administration. Mr. Hockaday.
Thank you, Council Pro Tem, Mr. Moiseo.
One big thing, we'll start with the big item. So I've attached in your packet here, we did our bid opening for the dredge facility on Friday afternoon. Very pleased to report we had multiple bidders that came within the opinion of probable cost, which was $13 million. The apparent low bidder is Independence Excavating. They offered two different prices depending on a completion deadline. One is a completion deadline of 2023 and the other is a completion deadline of 2024. The apparent low bidder was Independence Excavating with a low bid for the 2023 completion deadline of 11.2 million approximately, and for the 24 deadline of 10.1. So we'll have some options. I will be waiting on CT to issue a final bid tabulation, a formal bid tabulation, along with a recommendation. I know Independence Excavating to be a fairly competent firm. They are the same firm that constructed the city of Cleveland's dredge facility. So they have experience in this specific type of construction as well. So I look forward to that. That will be at our next council meeting here at the end of September. I'm incredibly pleased with that. To both be under and have a qualified firm at the top of the list. And there were multiple bidders. In fact, the second place there, Mark Haynes Construction is currently doing the Fairport facility. So they were equally qualified. I would be satisfied with either. So it was well done. Congratulations to CT. This is a difficult area to estimate, particularly since that estimate was about 3 years old, and it was the one we had to live with when we went to bid. So with all the price craziness, we were very pleased to see where we landed. It's a difficult market to do opinions of probable cost in. So kudos to Sean Aiken and Gene Arters at CT. So we look forward to taking this to the next step and taking it into construction. So that's all the fun stuff. I did attach for council, though we won't be able to act on it tonight, Scott Gertie's as well as Yvonne Moon's resumes here for council's review for appointment to the County Health Department Board. Two vacancies that are going to be left by non-renewing members of that board. Very excited to have these two candidates. I think they're exceptionally well qualified to have a chief of nursing and a pharmacist take those positions. I'm excited for Nichelle to have some new members that are so qualified. So I know she was worried about it, and I'm thrilled to have them and would highly endorse both for that position. A couple other updates as we move around here. The 2022 paving, I'm waiting on the final start date from Koski. I know with some of the weather lately, their days scoot around a little bit, but I'm anticipating here in the next week or two, they'll give us that final date where they'll come in and bring in the milling machines and get that project started.
And those, how many streets? I recall 7?
Something
Maybe
like
7
that.
streets?
I believe it was 7.
7 side streets.
Yes, the static building remediation. You have the sub-agreement for your approval and consideration. It really just binds over all of the primary pieces of the main agreement to the city of Conneaut as a subrecipient. So anything growth partnership would be subject to, we'd be subject to for reporting or accounting, et cetera, et cetera. So I have no problems. We need to move that forward so we can get this project started as well. And then we will get back to you. I owe you RFQ for engineering services, which council approved to go out to bid. So once those are completed, I'll return those to council for their approval. The water treatment filtration plant improvements, as you know, it's under construction. Council took a tour of it a couple months back. Where we are is the under drains on filter bed 3. When they were installed, they had an issue. They did not meet pressure tests. There was an issue with the grout. That had to be replaced. So they took the material for filter bed 4 and are installing it in filter bed 3, and then reordered material for filter bed 4, which we now expect in October, November. They did also in the meantime receive the VFDs, variable frequency drives, for the low lift station. So they'll be completing the low lift station probably by the end of this month as well. So it's coming home slowly.
Shouldn't
Obviously.
hinder any operation down there. Looks like
No.
they transferred back and forth, right?
And Richard Neubauer, superintendent, was very adamant that we not try and do filter beds 3 and 4 at the same time for exactly this reason. It's just operational capability. So we only take them down one at a time in case there are any whoopsies, which in this case, it didn't meet pressure test and it's kind of a do-over on the contractor's part. So the culprit was the blend to grout material failed. So the city's not responsible for that. It is completely on the contractor's liability side. So the ODOT, the big ODOT project is rounding home here. They still have a pretty significant list of punch list items that need corrected. A lot of little touch-up stuff. If you see something or you hear something from any members of the public that they feel need to be addressed before project closeout, please have them contact me sooner rather than later so I can add it to the list ODOT is seeking for completion. So they are getting close. I think it's pretty nice. It's certainly a much smoother drive. Overall, I think the final outcome is what we hoped it would be. So Route 20 sewer lining project. We talked about doing a change order on Walnut and West Jackson. They are wrapped here on the main drag. I've asked for a running total of costs and estimates. I think the only thing they may have left is they had a couple manholes they had to seal. And those are all unit price bases. Once I have all my unit pricing back and we see what our final tally is, we'll look at that change order where Mr. Bidwell asked to add in some portions of Walnut and West Jackson for that contract to get that done as well. But before I move on that, I want to see our final financial standing on the primary project. I will let you know as soon as I have that. I anticipate that this week or maybe even early next week. Broad Street reconstruction in Madison Street. You saw the demolition occur over there at the library. It looks nice. Mr. Ingram completed that. It's grassed and seeded. So that phase of the project is done. We are waiting on the boring project on Buffalo Street, and then we have preliminary drawings on Madison Street. We've gone through several revisions of that. In the last and latest revision, I asked that they submit a joined Broad Street and Madison Street plan so you can see it all together. I believe I sent out a draft copy to council in one of the attachments. So we asked for some revisions even on that drawing. So I'm waiting. Once those revisions come back, I'll share a final draft of that. And then Madison Street will progress to final engineering and bid hopefully yet this fall. So we got to keep that project moving. The Port Authority Marina expansion, as well as Naylor Drive. We have weekly meetings on those, just kind of like the Madison and Broad Street. I do have final drawings, preliminary renderings on that. We issued a number of corrections. So I'm waiting for those corrections to come back so that can go into final engineering, and then hopefully sometime either late this fall or early spring, we can take that out to bid as well. And that is for the Naylor Drive water and sewer portions of that project. The one thing that I did forget to list here, but I'll mention verbally, is the USDOT Conneaut Connector project. We had a $250,000 Ohio DOT grant for the redesign of the Route 20 Thompson Road and Innovation Parkway interchange that is part of this project. I have final drawings on that. I went over final drawings with CT the other week. I had a couple of corrections. They're going to add those corrections, and hopefully here, I would think by the end of this month, we will be submitting those final drawings to ODOT for their final review. The last element of that project is because it expands the truck radii, turning radii at Innovation and Thompson off of 20. And there's that 3-lane configuration, as well as a traffic signal that will go in there to accommodate truck traffic. We will have to take some easements. The only good part about that is we own the corners. So it's an easement from ourselves to the right of way. But I'm waiting on the final legal descriptions, which will be required to record as part of the grant project. So once those couple of items are checked off, we will need to submit that for reimbursement. So we have paid all the design fees for that, approximately $250,000. So once we complete it and submit it to ODOT, we will get our $250,000 reimbursed 100%. So we're rounding home on that. Once I have the final drawings, I'll share those with council as well.
So on the marina expansion, I think we're talking about the sewer lines are going to be starting in the fall. Is that pushed out till the spring?
It's moved a little slower than we hoped, as it always does in group work. We've had to go down there and do some additional survey work. One of the things that I know, because we added in Township Parks concession stand, their sewer lift station is failing down there, and they are replacing that concession stand. They are going to connect that, instead of replacing theirs, by gravity over to the lift station that we will be installing down there and operating. We will also eliminate both of the Port Authority lift stations, one by the dock office and then one closer to the blue building down there. And that will all tie in via gravity to a singular lift station and come to the top of the hill. There will also be a public restroom mounted on that lift station that will be highly accessible to the sandbar area, because there's currently no restrooms anywhere in that area. It's greatly needed. We spent a little time on investigating the wall structure, the federal wall. I know it looks like it's not there, but it is very much still there. According to the limited excavation, it's just buried in the sand. So we might have to, we're in the process of determining how much of that wall segment will need to be removed. It's been abandoned by the Army Corps of Engineers, but they didn't come pick their rocks back up. They're still there. So we've spent a little time investigating some of the utility necessities down there in terms of doing that. And that's taken a little additional time.
I think those rocks go all the way to the base of the hill.
They do, and they tie into,
I've never seen a picture.
yeah, there's an armored face at the bottom of that they didn't know was there for a long, it was 100 years ago. It was there and it was visible, but it got covered up with sand and dirt. And I think more recently they uncovered it maybe a decade ago. But that federal wall ties back into that. It's physically tied to the armored face of the slope. So our question was, at what depth? That's a couple hundred, that's a 100-year-old wall. So we had to go physically excavate it. So we didn't know, and there's no drawings that tell us that. So fun with utilities as usual. So, a lot of this stuff is legacy, and there's not good drawings to it, and we need to just explore it and figure out what we need to do. So it is taking more time, as you suggested. So
Yeah, those are some big rocks.
so they'll have to describe a method for removing or whatever.
Yeah.
Jim, or Mr. Hockaday, on the Buffalo Sewer project, the board
Mhm.
project, you got an idea when it'll start?
I don't have a final timeline. It's one of those things that could happen through winter. So,
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
it's
that could
underground,
happen.
I'm going to guess, if we can get it out this fall. I'm talking right now with Norfolk. I spoke with one of their engineers last week, where we could go in and do the correction on the stormwater line. So that they pierced with their
Yes.
signal line, and that we could do it at the same time. So we close it one time, not two times. And so we're in discussions on that. I don't have a final timeline for you. So,
Understand.
and I don't know how much I shared with the rest of council, but there's a little sinkhole on Buffalo Street right where we're doing the boring project. The reason we know about it is because we're getting ready to do the boring project, and we cameraed the storm sewer line next to it just to make sure everything was okay. And it unfortunately was not okay. So you'll see the little gates and barricades blocking that portion of the one lane by the gated crossing there. The gate signal, I'm probably using the wrong term, so please correct me, Mr. Goff.
Gate mech.
Yeah. So that thing, there's a signal cable that comes out of the bottom of that. And when they placed it, they shot the top off of our 15-inch storm sewer line there. And when we had our camera underneath it, and it's probably a good 6, maybe 7 feet down, I'm not quite sure, we don't have an exact depth. Rotate the camera up, we can see the brick road underneath. So we know that there's a massive sinkhole void underneath it. It's just a tricky space to excavate. It's not our financial responsibility to do the repair. It will be Norfolk's. But given the proximity to the sanitary line on the other side, that's probably 6-8 feet away, we need to be very careful because we do not want to collapse that line. So we're trying to work with their engineering group to see if we can just go in and correct them both at the same time. So if we have possibly even the same contractor, they can pay storm sewer version and we'll pay the other version. So I will keep you posted on how that one. It's never easy. Nothing's ever simple. So I will keep you posted on how that progresses with Norfolk.
So getting back to the marina project expansion, we're more or less looking at springtime starting at.
Possibly, yes. So, I mean, we have some flexibility on start time. We're not completely under the gun in terms of when it has to start. In terms of any of the financing that we have another 2 years to complete that project from June of this year. So,
So it's not eating into that.
no, we're not in danger of it from a financing timeline at any of the funding sources available to us. You know, the bigger impetus now is that we've included the township park portion of it. Is, you know, obviously they have a little bit of a beleaguered lift station. So that's really the one pressure piece. We were waiting on the final response with the ARPA dollars applications that we made to the county commissioners. And we made a joint application between the township park, the Conneaut Port Authority and the city. And we've been told that they're going to contribute some amount, but have not confirmed the amount or the timing on that. So to an extent, even if we were 100% RIP ready to go, we wouldn't be ready to go because we don't know what the timing is on that grant piece and who ultimately they're going to name, which I believe is going to be Township Park for those dollars. It doesn't matter whether they award it on this side of the fence or that side of the fence. It doesn't really matter. But we need to include that in our financial capital stack for the final project. And we're kind of, you know, waiting until we know. So I cannot give you a specific date on when those final announcements will be made.
It'll just be good to start seeing the development start.
Absolutely. And I know these things.
All get rolling.
Yeah, I know. Well, we're as anxious. I mean, we've been talking about this for a very long time and it'd be nice to have a shovel in the ground.
I agree.
I don't have anything else.
Any questions for Mr. Hockaday? I have one. The OPWC, the 335,000 and 150,000 and 0% interest. That's for the Park and Day Street project. And that's going to include infrastructure also, correct?
Right now, that's all infrastructure.
It's
So
all infrastructure,
it's
not road?
water, sewer, road,
Okay,
stormwater, sidewalks, streetscaping,
so it's everything.
from the face of one building on the north side to the face of the other building on the south side. So it's everything because there's nothing salvageable in there. It is all antique infrastructure. In my opinion, a lot of it is, we'll refer to it as original infrastructure, that it has not been updated since installed, oftentimes over 100 years of
I was just
age.
gonna say
So,
at least 100 years.
and that will be a very involved project as well. You know, obviously we'll have to work very closely with the businesses that are down there. It's hard for a project of that magnitude to be carried out without some kind of disruption. So particularly to parking, sidewalk access. and-
So right now, we don't even have a start date.
No, I don't. We
So
won't
as
have a
far as-
grant. We won't have a final grant award on that until July of 23.
3, okay,
Yep.
so we still have a while to go on that. Okay,
Yes.
gotcha.
Yep. And council will actually have to approve the final application here probably at the end of the month at the next meeting. I'm hoping because we'll have to submit that for the final integrating committee. Typically, the preliminary numbers that come out of the Ashtabula County Engineer's Office and our regional group, I've never seen them not hold. So, but technically you don't have an award until July of 23.
And then I was looking on your report, the meter replacement, slow go still on the meters?
Yes, we're getting them in portions. when we do get them, however, they're backlogged, right? So if we have 200 meters that we needed and we get 100 in, it takes a while to do some of that replacement. Mr. Skip Ensman in water distribution, I know he's worked to kind of prioritize meter replacement when they do get these clusters of meters in. But they've also looked at contracting some of that work out so we can do it a little more quickly, just because we have such a severe backlog. And, as you follow along with some of the COVID issues we've had recently, I think anybody would know it's as prevalent today as it's ever been, unfortunately. So, we just have to be mindful with our staff and exposure risks, because anytime somebody is sick, they're usually gone from us for at least 2 weeks. And what was a small backlog became a big backlog. And we only have 2 meter reader personnel in the city. So it does take a little bit of time to get to that. So I'm going to leave that one on there, probably for the foreseeable future until we kind of equalize on that. I know Mr. Ensman spent quite a bit of time trying to find a better solution. And I don't know that there are any great solutions to that situation, because once you have a vendor on that, it's proprietary software, it's not just the brass, and now, there's a brass shortage. Everybody's read about that. Before it was the microchips, because they are electronic, they're automated meter readers. So, we don't walk up to each individual house. We have a radio signal. We can drive in a truck and pick most of it up. So during the chip shortage, they were basically telling us no. We do continue to have issues with acquisition of materials. You name it, we're having a problem getting it. I know Mr. Ensman would like to look at a utilities committee meeting at some point to address tap fees. Simply because the price of materials so greatly exceeds what we charge for a tap fee on the water side, particularly on copper. I know he would like to address at some point, maybe a plastic alternative that would be acceptable that we can codify, just because of the extreme price of copper. But to give you another example, our last 2 orders of police vehicles, our 2021 order and our 2022 order just came back to us. They canceled them out and said they would not serve them. And then they said, well, you can get you an order, but you're going to have to come in at the new pricing. To give you an idea, the Durangos that we were ordering were $33,000. And I believe the most recent, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Ray, around $54,000. So it's just the way it is. We did, however, receive the pickup truck we ordered in 2019. So if you do see the police truck, it came in a couple weeks ago.
It looks good. It's lettered and everything.
Yeah.
It's ready to park.
And they had it out at Perch and Pilsner, and it's a sharp looking vehicle. But just to give you an idea of what kind of delays we're seeing, they ordered that in December of 2019.
I'd be happy to schedule a utilities meeting, just see when maybe he's available.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will.
Okay.
Okay. Moving on, Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Mosio. I did provide council a printed copy of the annual comprehensive annual financial report. It is the audited version. I believe I sent an email version out with a little bit of a summary on there.
Are you gonna read all this tonight?
No. I can start, like, maybe get halfway through it today.
Well, I'm disappointed. I was kind of looking forward to that.
But we did receive an
Brought your
unmodified or
coffee.
clean opinion on the report. And if anybody wants to see the report, they can go to the state auditor's website, or they can also go to the Conneaut website, conneautohio.gov. Under Finance Department, you'll see the annual reports. They're there from 2014 through 2021, because we're always a year behind with the audit report. Excuse me. I had also emailed council a copy of the auditor of state. They did a desk review of our audit. Right now, we have an independent auditor. We have had for 9 years now. So when the state auditors does the audit, you don't have to go through this, but because they're an independent auditor, they go through a desk review. So they haven't chosen our work papers this year. They have in the past, but this year they didn't. They just did a desk review. And the report is acceptable, requires no modifications. And they are going to certify this audit report. So it should be on the state auditor's website, because until they certify it, it's technically not published. So the next page, we received our local government estimate for 2023 from the county. Now, we get local government funds in two different ways. We get one as a distribution from the county auditor, and one is a direct distribution from the state. This is for the county only. They're estimating $415,000 or $450,724 for next year for our local government. Just to give you for reference or comparison, in 2021, they estimated 316,000. We actually collected about 400. So we collected substantially more than the estimate. This year, they're estimating 450, which is about 12.5% over last year's collection. So I'm hoping we hit that number, because we usually get about 50 from the state. That would be 500. At our low point, I think we're at 330,000. And as I said, I hope we can at least get that amount that's estimated here. The next page is the certificate of estimated resources. This is part of the tax budget that we prepared, sent to the county. They in turn certified it, and you'll see that rates of resolution that's on the agenda for tonight. This is the certification of those numbers. So we had a estimated unencumbered balance for all funds of about 2.9 million. We're estimating property tax at 2.644 million. Other sources, 30 million. So right now we're certified at 35.6 million in estimated revenue and fund balance. Now, this is going to change, because when we prepare our new budget, we're going to have more accurate figures. So we'll get another certificate of estimated resources, but this is derived from the tax budget. And then if you look at the last page, you'll see the tax millage to be levied on 2022 tax rolls for 2023. This is basically a summarized version of the rates of resolution. If you look at the rates of resolution, it's kind of convoluted. It's kind of separated in parts, but this is, I think, is a better summary. So you can see how much we're estimated for collections for the fire levies, police levies, and the street levy. In addition, for the inside unvoted millage, general fund, police pension, fire pension. So that does match the rates of resolution. As I said, it's just I think a better summary. So that's all I have for this evening. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions for Mr. Williams?
Thank you.
Let's move on to the law director, Mr. Lewis.
Nothing new to report this week, Mr. Moiseo. Be happy to answer any questions anyone may have for me.
Do you have any questions, Mr. Lewis? Okay, we'll move on to our reports of standing committees. Anybody has reports?
I don't have a report, but I want to announce that we're having an Economic Development Committee meeting next Tuesday, September 20th at 9 a.m. here in council chambers.
Tuesday, the 20th.
Yes,
What time again?
9 a.m.
9 a.m. Anyone else? Let's move on to our board liaisons. Mr. Goff.
Sorry about that.
No. that's fine.
Planning Commission passed for Dunkin' Donuts and Taco Bell on the Truck World property. It'll be like south on the same side, to be completed hopefully spring of 23. That lot on the just south.
So these would be two separate buildings.
Yes.
Dunkin' Donuts and Taco Bell,
Yes.
just south.
They're in the same complex, but just on the south side of the park.
No, they're two separate buildings, two separate.
Yeah, but in the same complex in the same.
Yeah, that would be, yeah.
When's the tenant, do we know a tentative start date or construction date or
I would not.
nothing?
He didn't
That's a little
say.
premature.
He just said spring of 23.
Spring of 23. Okay.
And then
Hmm.
ordinance 7722 is also related to planning commission.
I'll let you.
Okay, that is the rezoning of a parcel from M1 to R2 along Gore Road. We did discuss this in the last work session. You wouldn't be able to pass this ordinance tonight anyways, because rezoning does require council to have a public hearing with 30 days of notice. So I don't know if council, when we get to that ordinance, wanted to consult their calendars and set the public hearing maybe for the 30 minutes prior to a council meeting 30 days out to give Ms. O'Connell ample time to do a publication.
Okay. We can do that.
Thank you.
Any other reports of our liaisons?
I do not have a report, but I'd like to announce that there will be a cable advisory board meeting Tuesday, September 27th at 10 a.m. at the Conneaut Public Library.
I want to circle back and go back to our meeting minutes of August 22nd. I believe we'll be able to approve those without a full quorum.
No.
We won't?
No.
Okay, I just wanted to double check. Okay. All right, so now we'll move on to our ordinances. So tonight we have no ordinances or resolutions on the table. Third reading ordinances and resolutions, we have none. Second reading ordinances and resolutions, we have none. So we'll move on to first reading ordinances and resolutions, beginning with ordinance number 75-22. And again, I just want to make a note here that due to the lack of quorum, we'll read these, but we won't be able to act on these. And if I'm correct, Mr. Lewis, will they move to second reading unless it's an emergency?
Yes.
They automatically,
Well,
all of them,
automatically, all of
regardless of
them will move.
emergency, move to a second.
Correct. Okay. Okay, let's start with 75-22.
Ordinance to authorize the city manager to enter into a sub-grant agreement with Growth Partnership for Ashtabula County for the Brownfield remediation program and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Hockaday, you want to discuss this or just?
Sure, I mean, if.
Briefly summarize it.
Yeah,
I mean,
I mean, give a quick brief summary,
Yeah,
which
brief one,
was,
yes.
this is the static building on Broad and Jackson. The grant is for about $1.2 million to do the in situ remediation of the soil and to get a no further action letter on the property, so it can be further developed or rehabilitated as necessary. The grant applicant was not the city. We weren't allowed to be the direct applicant, so it went through the Ashtabula County Brownfield Coalition, which consists of the Department of Community Planning and Services, Port Authority, and Growth Partnership. Growth Partnership actually was the listed entity on there. So in order for them to direct the money to this project, they will have to do a sub-grant recipient agreement with the city of Conneaut, where we basically accept the terms and conditions of the original grant. So that is what is before council on this one.
Okay. We're in 75-22. We'll move to second reading. Moving on to 76-22.
An ordinance to authorize the city manager to enter into an agreement with ODOT for the bridge inspection program and declaring an emergency.
Again, Mr. Hockaday.
Just to give her, ODOT performs municipal bridge inspections at no cost to municipalities, but they have to do it by LPA, local public agreement. And it does not cost us any money, but they do come through and evaluate all of our bridge structures that are under city control. This is part of a federal program that comes to each of the states in the wake of a big bridge in Minnesota collapsing some years back. The federal government prioritized bridge inspections. And this is the implementation of that. It is reauthorized in 3-year agreements. So Once we accept this agreement, it would cover the next 3 years of inspections. So obviously something we need to do. We did obviously just review one of our bridges and some of its deficiencies, and we are eligible to apply for the Small Cities Muni Bridge Program, which we have submitted an application for the Old Main Bridge. So hopefully we're successful on that. I'll keep you posted as we move forward through that grant application process. But this is just the inspection piece for the next 3 years.
Okay. Ordinance 7622 will be moved to second. Next ordinance is 77-22. We just discussed that about the zoning from moving from an M1 to an R2 urban residential district. Do we need any more discussion on that? Do we want to set the public hearing for this now?
I should read this into the heading at least.
Right. I mean, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
An
interrupt
ordinance
you.
amending the zoning map of the city of Conneaut to effect a rezoning of permanent parcel number listed below in section 1 from M1 Industrial District to R2 Urban Residential District as further described in section 1 below, and not declaring an emergency. And I would say, as Mr. Hockaday said, it has
Yes.
to be at least 30 days. So you want to go beyond that to give sufficient time for publication.
So that's what I was looking at here on the calendar.
October 24th.
I was just going to say, because our next 26 work session, regular meeting. So October 24th at 6:30. So let's do October 24th at 6:30 PM.
Then 24 at 6:30.
10/24 at 6:30. And that would be just before our regular council meeting on that day. Okay, so Ms. O'Connell, you have to read the heading.
I do.
Good, okay. So this will be moved to second. All right, we'll move on to 7822.
A resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission, authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor.
You may be able to do this one because you have 5, you have a quorum, but you can't do emergency, but resolutions do not require emergencies, correct?
It's up to you. I mean, we could wait. I mean, if you want to just make sure, but it's a.
Yeah, I mean, I'd feel safer to wait.
Okay.
Okay, so it doesn't matter if we have a simple majority, I guess, would it be considered a simple majority?
You can act on it, but I think you can act on it with just 5, but I will defer to Mr. Lewis.
Yeah,
I'll-
that's- I mean, we'll defer to you.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
He wants to wait.
I would wait.
we will wait. Okay. Okay, so Mr. Williams, you want to comment on this ordinance at all?
Oh, that's the one I had just explained. Basically, it's the rates and resolutions of resolution determined by the county budget commission. We prepare our estimates through the tax budget. That's that tax budget summary that I provided to council.
Okay.
It goes to the county, they certify it, and then we accept their certification by ordinance. It has to be passed by October 1st of each year.
Okay. 7822 will be moved to second reading. We'll move on to 7922.
A resolution in support of Ohio congressional representatives enacting legislation which recognizes home rule authority for municipalities over blocked railroad crossings.
Mr. Lewis or Mr. Hockaday on this one?
So this is council's resolution, and we discussed this, I believe, at our last regular meeting and work session. Certainly, if there is any language that you would like added, subtracted, I know Mr. Lewis took his best guess at it there, but certainly we're open to any modifications council would request. So if there's any language you'd like added or removed, certainly review that and let us know. We can modify it before the next council meeting.
Okay. 7922 is moved to second reading. 8022.
An ordinance authorizing the finance director to certify a list of delinquent water and sewer bills to the Asheville County Auditor for real estate assessment and declaring an emergency.
These are just unpaid bills by owner and non-owner occupied water and sewer. We have about $1,038 in assessments for water and sewer, and one which is non-owner occupied sewer for $67.60.
Okay, so ordinance 80-22 will be moved to second. Looks like 81-22.
An ordinance authorizing the finance director to certify a list of delinquent grass cutting bills to the county for real estate assessment pursuant to section 731.54 of the Ohio Revised Code and section 1377.07 of the codified ordinances of the city of Conneaut and declaring an emergency.
Yeah, these are people that didn't mow their lawn. And so we contracted out right now. The amount that will be certified is $2,609.44.
Okay. Ordinance 81-22 will be moved to a second reading. We'll move on to 82-22.
An ordinance to appoint Scott Gerties to the Conneaut City Board of Health for a period of 5 years, beginning September 12th, 2022 and ending September 11th, 2027, and declaring an emergency.
And I believe Mr. Hockaday mentioned this in his city manager's reports. So ordinance 82-22 will be moved to second. Moving on to 83-22.
An ordinance to appoint Yvonne Moon to the Conneaut City Board of Health for a period of 5 years, beginning September 12th, 2022 and ending September 11th, 2027, and declaring an emergency.
Okay, and again, Mr. Hockaday addressed this in his report. So we'll move 83-22 to second reading. That brings us to unfinished old business. Anyone have any unfinished or old business they'd like to bring forward? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to miscellaneous business. I have a couple things. Does anyone else have anything?
I have one thing.
Mrs. Ledford.
Okay. A couple people were asking me about if it was possible to put a sign on Route 7 as you're approaching the Loves, heading north, approaching Loves and Truck World, down on Route 7, like maybe notifying people that there's a signal ahead. They were, is there anything?
There is a signal ahead sign there.
There is.
yes.
Oh, okay.
It's towards the top of the hill, because it's well in advance of the signals themselves.
Okay.
I can review and see if it's still there.
Make sure.
Maybe
Yeah.
maybe
'Cause-
somebody ran over it and we didn't notice.
Right. Yeah.
That's
yeah.
always a possibility with road signs.
Yeah,
So
take a look, because they were concerned, they were
Okay.
noticing that there was some speeding, people approaching that and really
yes,
looked dangerous.
yes, and to note this, in our argumentation for that traffic signal being installed there,
Yeah.
they do not allow us to consider traffic speeds or anything like that. But we did note and do a study that I believe something like 5% of the traffic when we were recording it in advance of this project was in excess of 80 miles an hour.
Yeah.
There's some extreme speeding that goes on through there.
Crazy.
It's a
Yeah.
dangerous area.
It's
Yeah.
it's so
And-
dangerous right
and-
now.
And it's a very difficult to patrol area because there's no turnaround. And because of the elevation change, it's kind of down in that valley. There's no place to really place a cruiser in a good spot where we can do a lot of proactive enforcement in that area. We have to be a little further south in order to run radar out there. But immediately approaching that intersection, there's really no good spot.
So we can't do anything about the speed limit there. at the city.
Yeah, the speed limit is the appropriate speed limit based on the type of road that it is. That is dictated by an ODOT standard. So even any state route, like state routes as they pass through, the city of Conneaut or North Kingsville, that speed limit that you see posted is actually dictated by the number of businesses, the number of residences, the number of curb cuts in the area. Because there are none out there, it's a limited access highway. It is posted at, I believe, 55, 50 or 55, through that area. So that is a standard. If we lowered it below that and let's say we posted it at 35 and we started writing tickets off of that, we could be challenged on that and we would likely lose in a courtroom. I've seen it happen in other communities that we've posted a speed limit to be punitively or unfairly low or restricted without a proper justification of moving that speed limit down.
Would it be too costly? I know you're saying we have a sign and we'll check for a sign,
Mhm.
but like a flashing,
You can add a flashing, like a solar panel
yes.
driven
Any-
flashing.
Anything that would maybe draw attention?
Yes, so you could, typically those are about $3,500 to $5,500 a piece to install. I'm just giving, I mean, is it possible? Yes, it's possible.
Okay.
But I will confirm whether the sign is still in existence or not. It was there when the project was completed.
Okay.
I was talking to you earlier for the meeting down there on Lake Road by Lake Park Drive with the passing zone just before that side street on the south side. And the concern was people passing in that area and people pulling out. I believe that goes to 50 miles an hour right in that area. Also, the speed limit picks up. That's why when you brought that up, and does that dictate, can that be reduced down to 35 in that area of the residence?
I would have to look at it. And it would depend on the number of curb cuts. I don't know the standard off the top of my head, but it's something we could review.
That was one of the concerns, is maybe reducing it down there.
Mhm.
Plus go to a double yellow down there to eliminate that passing zone right there.
We can certainly look at the striping. I'm not saying we can't review the speed limit
Right.
as well, but generally speaking, in any community around, they're usually set to the lowest allowable by ODOT standard. I've never seen them raised above allowable
Yeah,
standards. So
just-
if it says 35 and communities are setting it
I'm
to
just
50.
thinking if you can move it down past that side road, to 50 miles, but it'd be better to me to keep it 35 through the area, because Route 20 is 35 all the way out to Kingsville. And, and that's why when you brought that up there, that's been a pretty bad area. I remember we lost a young lady there several years ago in the wintertime. It hit the ice.
Yeah, we
you know.
can take a look at it.
Okay, I have a couple things. First of all, I would like to express my condolences and the city of Conneaut's condolences to the family of Joe Parma, who passed away Saturday. So I would like to express our condolences to them. Also, a big thank you to Wendy Dubé, Jeff Raisin, and all the members, the Chamber of Commerce members, for a very successful Purchase and Pilsner event this weekend. It was well attended, very good bands, good perch, good walleye. It was fantastic. And they did a lot of work, a lot of hard work went into that, and very appreciative of them doing that. So,
Did you note one of the performing acts is here with us tonight? And
is he,
Lewis.
is it Mr. Lewis? Really?
Mr.
Did I miss it? When did you perform, Mr. Lewis?
Would have been Saturday between 12 and 3.
Okay.
And I can attest that there was some very good Pilsner there as well.
Law director by day, rock star at night.
Wow,
I
I had no idea.
And Mr. Lewis, I can attest to this, that my wife and I helped in the beer tent, and we had some very good assistants there. Miss Jessica Hoff was also there and assisted us and did a very nice job. So,
Good deal.
but yes, and Jim knows why I'm mentioning that.
Yeah.
But anyhow, anyone else have anything for?
Got a call Saturday evening, and NS train stopped for 2 hours, kids going across. Called the police, gone by the time they got there. I mean, it's hard for them to, just show right up. We do need to push forward something to get us help. You got to do something before something goes bad. Thank you.
Okay, if anyone have anything else?
I have one other thing that
Yes, sir.
I forgot to mention. I realized this is council's miscellaneous business, not mine, but I did want to inform you that Sergeant Mackinson is leaving us on September 20th, coming up here. He has accepted the chief's position in the village of Jefferson. So we extend our congratulations to him and good luck in his new role. I was going to tell the media to wait until that Monday, the 20th, when they're doing their swearing in ceremony, but Officer Mackinson has been here for quite some time, and he's been always great to deal with. He's done a lot of things that are above and beyond. He did a lot of the IT work for the city of Conneaut, kind of on the side. He does have a business that does that, but he would always assist the chief and chiefs that he has served in keeping our IT and the police department up and running. So he will be missed in that respect and many others. So wish him the best of luck in his new role coming up. And then shortly thereafter, we will have a new sergeant that is dictated by exam. And the next in line will be Mr. Vendetti. So
So the exam is already, it's already still
we have an active list.
another year. We have an
Yeah,
active
yep.
list.
So you will see that forthcoming appointment, and we will bring him up for that.
Okay, very good. I need a motion to excuse Mr. Kozeski and Mr. Arcaro.
Make a motion.
Second.
Mr. Emery,
Yes.
Mr. Gah,
Yes.
Mrs. Ledford,
Yes.
Mr. Moiseo,
Yes.
Mr. Prokowski.
Yes.
Okay, the city council meeting for September 12th, 2022
We need a
is,
motion
oh, I'm
to
sorry.
adjourn.
I'm sorry.
Make
Gun a little
make
bit.
a motion for
You are ready to go.
Ready to.
He's just ready to go.
I make a motion for adjournment.
I'll second that.
O'Connell, please.
Mr. Emery,
Yes.
Mr. Gah,
Yes.
Mrs. Ledford.
Yes.
Mr. Moiseo.
Yes.
Mr. Prokowski.
Yes.
Now.
Okay, now the city council meeting for September 12th, 2022 is adjourned. Thank you very much.